Hi guys, this is Miss Owens. Happy Monday. I'm excited to share this with you. It's going to be our first distance learning translation. Please keep in mind as we do this, I am not looking for perfection. If you have something that gives you a second and you have to think about it, that's great. If you make a mistake, that's something you can learn from, right? Remember, I'm the Latin teacher. If you knew everything about Latin, you'd be the Latin teacher. So please do not beat yourself up if translation has been hard for you. Please give me your best work, okay? And most of your credit today is not going to be based on the translation. It's going to be based on labeling, which I know that you can do. We are going to label our subjects and direct objects. I'm going to come back to this slide in just one quick second, okay? But I want to click ahead here and show you that I've included the chart, the same one we were working with last week, right? We've got our subjects here, right here and right here. We've got our direct objects here and here. So when you see those endings, I want you to label your subjects. I think it's easiest to highlight, and I'd like you to highlight subjects yellow and highlight direct objects green. I'm going to do some of that on my screen so you can watch me do it. If you feel better about, writing a little S after the word or a little DO after the word or on top of the word or before the word, be consistent about the way that you do it, but I'm open to whatever's easiest for you, okay? I've also wrote on here that if you are able to go through and label all of your verbs in blue, or again with a V, that's fine too, I'm going to give you some extra credit for being crafty enough to find those, okay? But we're going to concentrate mostly on our subjects and direct objects. The second task is to try to translate these sentences. You guys watched the TED Ed video about Minerva and Arachne. You know that Minerva is the goddess who jealously turns Arachne into a spider after they have a competition to see who's better at weaving tapestries. Um, and so you know what's happening in these sentences. You can absolutely do this. Having your vocab list out from 2 weeks ago. We only have 2 days of distance learning a week, so the vocab is a couple weeks ago now, but you have those. Have it out. It's going to make everything a lot easier. I have a lot of vocab help on the slides if I think it's something you haven't seen in a while, something that's not on your current vocab list, but maybe was on an old one, or if I just think it's kind of a hard translation, okay? Also, feel free to always check in with me and ask me questions. My office hours are every day from 9 to 10 a.m. And if you'd like to send me an email or even pop into my office hours chat, if I'm not there at that exact second, if it's outside of my office hours times, as soon as I can, I'll get back to you, okay? But if you're hearing the sound of my voice, you're doing the first thing I will always tell you to do, and that's to watch my instructional video to try to help you through the first example, okay? So good work. All right, when you translate, don't forget we always have the same order for our sentences. This is how an English sentence likes to go. So this is the order we want to put it in. Subject, then verb, then direct object. Subject, verb, direct object. And of course, we've got great things in English and Latin like transitional words and conjunctions. Those are going to go where they need to go, okay? So that's going to be you as a native speaker realizing, okay, I'm going to maybe start with this word that says sometimes this happens, or always, or while, right? But we'll get there, okay? There's not a lot of that decision making to happen. Included this slide just to remind you that I'm looking for effort here. If you've got all of the vocab words, you've got them all looked up, but you don't get them in quite the right order, our labeling is supposed to help you put it in the right order. But if you make a mistake, by all means, I am not trying to look for perfection here. I want you to do the best that you can on this worksheet, on this slide presentation, I guess I should say. And I want to give you credit for trying, right? That's the whole point of this kind of class, is to try to give you puzzles to work out. And if I can see that you're working on that puzzle, then you're doing everything you should be, okay? Like I said before, I've got your chart here. I'll click back to this every once in a while, and you should feel free to as well. You also have worksheets from last week and, things throughout the year that we've written this down on. So if you've got your binder at home, you can feel free to have that open on your desk while you do this, okay? All right, let's get into our first example here. I've picked a really nice, lengthy bit of the translation for me to do, just so you don't have to worry about it so much. But these are kind of short sentences, and you'll see that pretty much throughout, pretty short sentences. And I'm going to start highlighting, right, because that's my major task here. So the sentences say, Minerva est dea sapientiae, est dea lani quoque, Arachne est puella perita in lana. You're going to see on your own slides that I'm going to have some words already highlighted for you. And some of them are going to be highlighted, interestingly enough, in gray, which is the thing I'm going to do here. You do not need to touch the gray, okay? You don't need to worry about that at all. But the things that are in gray are words that are not subjects or direct objects or verbs. Believe it or not, there's more to a sentence than that. For instance, a word like because, right? That's our conjunction. That's not a subject or a direct object or a verb. You don't need to touch it. So I've tried to be nice and clear here, and I went ahead through the slides and I put those things in gray. So you know you don't have to touch it, okay? All right. Oops, I forgot one. Here we go. One more that I don't want you to touch. There we go. Great. Okay, subjects first. If I go back to my slide here, I'm going to see that subjects can end in A and AE, US/R, or I. And I know it might seem like I'm going a little fast here, so feel free to pause at any point if you want to check my answers or figure out how I got something, okay? We're going to start off by highlighting here in the yellow because the yellow is for subjects, right? Minerva ends in A, so that's a subject. Dea ends in A, so that's a subject. Well, there's Dea again. I can go ahead and put that in the subject color. And what do you know? Obviously, a story like this is going to have a lot of repeated language. And so that A ending again shows me it's the subject. One of the reasons I picked this one to show you rather than ask you to do is because it has this interesting name in it, Arachne. Arachne's name ends in an E. And, we don't see that anywhere on our chart. There's no, I guess AE is over here, right? But there's no actual E ending for us to know. I just want you to know that that's a name. And so we all know this about names, right? People can spell their names however they want to. And Arachne spells hers with an E. So I'm telling you, she's the subject. So don't stress about it, okay? She is already the subject. And anytime you see her on this slide presentation, you're going to see her already highlighted in yellow for you. So you do not need to stress at all. Okay? All right. So these are the introductory sentences to the translation. And, I didn't have any direct objects. That's okay. Sometimes you won't have every part of a sentence. When we translate, we're always going to be looking for our subject and our verb because those pieces are necessary, but a direct object is not always necessary. And these gray words also, whether they're prepositional phrases or adverbs or what have you, they're not necessary either, right? But subject and verb, you're always going to see those. All right, and I am going to go ahead and do this. This is extra credit for you if you want to do it, but I'm going to highlight my verbs just to remind you a little bit about how our verbs work, how they look, and to show you what you can do if you would like to get some extra credit on this, okay? So this translation, full of some nice short sentences and full of some repetitive vocabulary. Est happens to be dominant in the first few sentences here, but that makes sense. We're getting to know who's in the story and what they are and who they are. So lots of this is this and this is this kind of stuff, okay? Great, so I have my highlighting done, and now I want to translate. And I went ahead and I actually did this already on a different slide, and I'm going to go back through it, okay? So Minerva est Dea. Minerva is a goddess. Now, some people might be tempted to translate this as Minerva is goddess, right? Because we don't have a word in Latin for a or the. But remember, we want to make it sound like good English. So don't talk like a caveman if that's not how we would say it in English, right? We're going to say Minerva is a goddess or the goddess. We want to add those articles when they sound right. So don't forget, if you need to add a word to make it sound right, sometimes you just gotta, okay? Our next sentence here says, Est Dea sapientiae. She is the goddess of wisdom. And notice I said she as the subject. That est ends in T. That T ending means he, she, or it did it. She is the goddess of wisdom. The next sentence starts the same way. Est Dea lanai quoque. She is the goddess of wool also. That word quoque means also. And you can see that I'm going to translate my subject and my verb, and then I'm going to get around to everything else in the sentence, right? The important stuff first. All right, Arachne est puella. Arachne is a girl. And you can see again, I added that word, that English word a, because just to say Arachne is girl doesn't sound so good. It sounds like what a caveman would say. So I'm going to say Arachne is a girl. All right, last sentence here. Est puella perita in lana. She is a girl skilled in wool. Perita is a word we have on our vocab list. It means skilled or experienced or tested in. She's really good at weaving stuff. We know that about her background, okay? Since you're getting this far in the video, I'm going to keep translating for you. And again, if you have questions or concerns, I'm going to direct you to this video. So keep going. The first one here, we've got a piece of text here in gray. That often means it's going to be something that's going to be down here as some extra vocab for you, but not always. Sometimes it's just a word that like et, right? Et, that means is, or excuse me, et means and, est means is. And those are words we are expected to know. We've seen those since day one in Latin. So est means is, et means and even if et is already in gray, you don't need to worry about it. And it's not going to be translated on there for you. I think you know what it means. All right. So enough blathering. Let's do this for a sentence. It says picturas pulchras in textile format. So if you want to take a second there, think about it. Go back to your chart. Interesting, interesting. You're going to see that picturas and pulchras both end with the same letters, A-S. Hopefully you found that on your chart. And if you take a look here to the left, you're going to see that that means it is a direct object. Interesting. We haven't had one of those yet. And direct objects are going to be green. So I would highlight those words in green. In textile, I'm not going to touch. Format ends in a T. I take a look on my chart. I don't see any T's on here. Maybe you can think for a second what kind of word ends in a T. It's a lot like est from our previous slide. If you're shouting verb at your screen, you're right. Verbs are extra credit to highlight, but if you wanted to, you can go ahead and highlight that blue. And that T ending also shows us what our subject is. It's a he, she, or it word, right? And because Minerva is a girl and Arachne is a girl, I'm going to assume the subject of this word is she. She, format. Take a look on your vocab list. Maybe think about it for a second. This word means makes or forms. So she makes picturas pulchras. Well, picturas is pretty easy. It's going to be pictures. Don't forget it's plural. Pulchras is a word we've seen a few times in our earlier chapters, but because we haven't seen it in a little while, I see me correct a little typo there. I've put some of these, like I said, long ago words at the bottom of your slides. So pulcher, pulchra is an adjective that means beautiful. So she makes beautiful pictures in textile. That happens to also be here at the bottom. For all of you future clothing designers, I know that's a hobby for a lot of people, you have to choose which kind of textile you're going to use to make your clothes out of, right? Are you going to make big, heavy hoodies? Are you going to make thin t-shirts? Are they going to be made out of linen or cotton or a blend of different things? That's a textile, right? That's an English word that comes from this word textile, which means fabric, and in just means in. So she makes beautiful pictures in fabric. That's Arachne's whole thing, right? She loves to make those beautiful pictures. Okay. 2 is where I'll take you. I was tempted to stop at 1, but I feel like this is it's good practice, okay? So slide number 2 says, Arachne est superba quod picturas pulchras format. You're going to see that quod is already in gray. You don't need to do anything with it. Arachne is your subject. We've talked about how Arachne spells her name however she chooses. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight Arachne and give her that subject yellow. Est, from our first slide, that's a verb. We could make that blue. Superba, That's going to be yellow for subjects also. Picturas, pulchras. Well, that looks like the very last slide, right? Those are direct objects because they end in AS. And then your last word here, format. If you are trying to get that extra credit, well, that's a verb. That one's blue, same as the slide before. All right, Arachne est superba quod picturas pulchras format. So we're going to start with our subject, always, every time. Arachne est superba. See if you got your notes handy so you can find out what superba means. Superbus, superba is an adjective. It means proud. So est is, Arachne is your subject. Arachne is proud. Quod, take a look at your vocab list. I know you have it handy by now. You see how useful it is. Quod means because. Arachne is proud because. Picturas pulchras format. Well, that looks really familiar. That's exactly what the last sentence said. She makes beautiful pictures. So put it all together. Arachne is proud because she makes beautiful pictures. All right. If you've gotten this far, you only have 3 more slides to go. Again, if you make a mistake, that's a great opportunity for me to help you see the correct answer. Okay? I'd like you to just give it your best effort. Make sure you have your vocab list out. And I know I don't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I know how this translates in Google Translate, and it's not good. It's really obvious if you decide to use an online translator. They just don't work, guys. Don't use them, okay? Do your best here. An online translator is not going to show you which words are subjects and direct objects, and that's your number one goal. That's most of your credit here, okay? So concentrate on highlighting subjects and direct objects, and if you got the hang of that, why not get some extra credit by looking for those verbs, okay? Every day I have office hours, 9 to 10 a.m., and again, you can always pop into my chat or send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer something. I have faith in you. You can do this. You can do this. I'll talk to you soon.